What screams I'm uneducated? People who take the very first thing they hear about something and embed it in their heads and refuse to acknowledge that something could possibly be different than what they originally believed. Well, I have extensively researched the topic. I've seen like 5 YouTube videos and they all say the same. Coincidence? Think not. And then they try to get away with that's not the point. Were these 5 videos on the same channel? That's not the point.
Kindle Unlimited. The freedom to explore over 1 million titles and thousands of audiobooks. Enjoy unlimited reading and unlimited listening on any device for just $9.99 a month. Try it free for 30 days.
People who think talking louder in an argument means you've won. You don't need to look for the uneducated person, you'll hear them coming. And pray for your eardrums if two get into an argument. With both parties thinking shrieking louder means they've won, your poor ears are going to feel like glass is being jammed into them. I remember growing up our teachers nuns telling us that empty vessels make the most noise. Now every time someone gets loud this saying pops into my head. So far this saying has been 100% accurate. Nice. In Swedish this one's called empty barrels scramble the most. Being all or nothing. Not understanding that an issue can have many many solutions and many facets. Not everything is black versus white or win versus lose. To not see shades of grey is a lack of abstract thinking. And wow, I feel like a judgmental douche for saying that. Well, your points make more sense than many others with more upvotes. The fact that you're aware of the possibility of sounding like a douche means you are in fact the most educated of us all. Someone who does something because it's the norm. Examples. Smart. I use an iPhone because I like them and out of all phone interfaces it best suits me. Dumb. I use an iPhone because I don't want a shitty Android making me look broke. My boss said his iPhone was the best phone ever made. I asked him why. He paused and stuttered and said, "Dot. Do you know how much I paid for this?" And that's why he's the boss. Confederate flag sticker on your vehicle. I doubt many folks with a doctorate are rolling around with heritage. Not hate on their bumper. I live in Oregon of all places and it's not uncommon to see people flying the Ulsters and bars. Bonus points if they are born and raised in Oregon but have a southern accent. People who brag about not reading. People who think that spending an hour on Google makes them an expert on a field. Spending an hour on Google makes them an expert on a field. I think it's worse when someone will not spend the hour researching something on Google then claim to be an expert, or even just claim to have a basic understanding. Spending an hour researching a topic that is very easy may well make someone an expert, relative to the complexity of the topic. People who consistently use logical fallacies to justify positions and opinions that they hold to. Also the opposite extreme. People who rely on misusing logical fallacy challenges in bad faith as well. Bad faith pseudo-intellectual arguing. Throwing as much jargon as possible without actually applying until the other party just gives up. Then strutting around like you won. Well, there is the fallacy. I do get the irony of this situation. Having the bumper sticker that goes something like, "My son beat up your honor student. I feel bad for their kids. I feel bad for them. I feel bad that anyone thinks it is cool, edgy or anything but plain old sad. Oof, I've never seen this before. What a massive cringe." Inability to understand there and there. I never understood why people don't seem to pick it up. My native language is French and the there rule seems pretty easy. Even as a second language learning. You just need to take a second to think about the meaning of the word before writing the correct one. Agree. My native language is Spanish and I never understood how native English speakers don't know the difference between there. It's also shocking how many of them don't know the difference between them than. Using big words in the wrong context. Heard a gentleman say that a political party had a stigmatism about it. Rather than a stigma, and I didn't have the heart to correct him. Because it was abundantly clear that he's always right. Anti-vaxxers. Flat earth theorists. Pretty sure most flat earthers are just trolls. Treat anything they see in the social media as facts. Don't even need the word social anymore. Customer at work I spoke with. He told me underpopulation is the problem. Not overpopulated. I told him it depends where you're going. Go to places like China and overpopulation is clearly the issue. Meanwhile places like Japan are having the exact opposite problem, in which they have less young people like me who want to do jobs like convenience store. It has gotten so bad. Places in Japan rely on robots and vending machines. He then went to me, underpopulation is the issue. If it weren't for you guys, who would take care of my generation? Robots. We'll build robots to wipe their asses. I think the word you are looking for is bidet. Thinking you're the smartest around. On average, people who are smart don't think they know everything on a subject, while dumbasses think they do. Yeah, that's a big thing where I work. I work in a very niche industry where there aren't a lot of qualified people. There is this young guy who's been here like a year or who thinks he's the industry expert, yet he messes up everything he touches. While the super genius Jesus guru who fixes anything just by looking at it is the most humble person you've ever known, and he freely admits, well, I've just failed enough times where I know what doesn't work, so I just try other things and learn from it. It is, of course, completely possible to be smart and arrogant. Just not on an AskReddit thread about intelligence because insecurities. People who don't consider the opposing side of an argument and care more about winning than truth or understanding. That's more of a character flaw than an education issue. Yeah. I know lots of folks with post-grad degrees that are like this. Being educated doesn't mean that you are intellectually honest. Blaming everyone else but themselves. I know people who are educated, but still do this. AKA, my mom. Example. She ran her car into a fence post and blamed my dad for putting the post there. The post had been there for 20 plus years. My mom has a degree in the microbiology, so she's not exactly uneducated. A degree in the microbiology, so she's not exactly uneducated. Sounds like a pretty tiny amount of education though. Person who makes fun of someone else for knowing something that is covered in school. I've worked at a few different places doing manual labor, and this type of behavior wasn't uncommon. I've always thought of this as being a pretty naked display of insecurity about one's own level of education. Have a look at the smart fella. Readna book. This loser knows how to read. Point and laugh at the literate dillhole. Refusing to believe established facts are facts. Vaccines. Round earth. Modern medicine. etc. Refusal to change beliefs when presented with evidence. Especially that second bit. Want to be an edgy skeptic? Fine, but you've got to be prepared to be wrong. Everyone has to be mature enough to be wrong at times. It's okay to be an actual skeptic. I feel as though it's okay to avoid taking on new opinions or beliefs until you've done your research. On the flip side, though, it's stupid to continue to believe something just because it's what you always have. The best ideas are the ones that win out against competing ideas. People who argue with restaurant staff about what is on the menu. You can bet your sweet ass they behave that way too. 5, 8, 3, 6, 7. Yes, I stand by those numbers. People who abuse wait staff aren't just dumb. They come off as the worst kind of vile and pathetic. They know that service staff have a duty to be nice to them, so deliberately duck with them to fulfill God knows what inadequacy. I think a lot of people save up all their rage against service industry workers for tipped restaurant experiences. Like way more people than you'd think, and most of them without realizing they're doing it. It's the one time in all your interactions with service industry employees that you hold all usual powers over them, but also get to decide their pay rate for a brief moment. So people turn into king baby. Every time someone at McDonald's forgot to put a straw in the bag comes raging back via demanding the waitress read the printed beer list to you 16 times in a row. Lack of self-awareness. Edit. I did not use my brain when I made this comment, as many people I know who lacked self-awareness are educated and smart people. Got caught up with r/choosing burgers lol. Putting the School of Hard Knocks in your profile. Studied at School of Hard Knocks. CEO at none of your business. Translation. Dropped out of high school and did have a job that isn't selling weed once a month to my little brother and his friends. Play COD all day and punch walls. Parents don't have the balls to kick me out even though I'm a degenerate. Somehow I'm not a virgin. Having opinions but being unable to explain them without resorting to buzzwords. That's why I always synergize my thoughts before real talk. But do you synergize them through machine learning blockchains with cloud distributed superhighway solutions? Or do you do it yourself like some 2017 chump? I already posted here but I have a second one. People who use their phones on speaker in public. The entire dang restaurant doesn't need to hear about the results of your pap smear. Having no interest in learning new things. The smartest people are always asking good questions and soaking up new ideas and facts. Using words in the wrong context. I never use big words to make myself sound more dodecahedron. Me either. But when I do I flox an or synhilipilification like a mother ducker. Pushing MLM crap on your social media. And believing you can get rich from it. Well you can. If you are the one starting it. Challenging people to IQ contests. This guy was losing an argument on Facebook. And the other person stopped responding. So this guy had to say, how dare you come at me? My IQ is 122. I asked him if he got his IQ results from a Facebook test. He did not answer. Putting horrible loud music on the bus or metro. My buddy was pumping gas the other day. This kid pulls up in an average car and parked at a pump. He runs into prepay. Comes back out to pump but before he does has to lean in through his window and turn his absolute shit music up to max volume. I looked around and saw everyone's face cringe or become disgusted annoyed. He then proceeds to pump his gas like he's the coolest mother ducker alive. Don't be that kid. Everyone hates that kid. I was stuck in traffic next to someone like this yesterday. Literally. Bumper to bumper. Stop and go traffic. For an hour and 15 minutes. After being at work all day. Right next to this a-hole. People like that do not die of natural causes. Criticism of educated people. I was in a hospital this morning and was helped by two nurses. One was younger and had a nursing college degree. The other one was older and constantly kept telling the younger one. They don't teach you anything in college. You don't even know how to take blood pressure. Your degree is useless. Isn't it? I know much more than you etc. I was sorry for the young kid. There is a famous astronaut from my country who announced he was considering running for politics. The man has a master's degree and was a colonel in the Air Force before being hired by NASA and achieving the rank of commander of the ICE. I remember talking to someone who said they didn't believe he would be qualified to be a politician. I pointed out his achievements and the counter argument I got was most of the people he is representing didn't graduate high school so they could support their families. Not true BTW. The person I was arguing with suggested that the more educated you are, the less qualified you are to represent the people. It was very frustrating. The more educated you are, the less qualified you are to represent the people. Humanity is doomed. Best comment of the day. I used to work with one of those guys. He seemed to not understand that people stop talking to him about anything is because they get tired of arguing with him, and he always found a way to bring the conversation back to hot button topics, even though nobody wants to talk about them, nor hear his conservative Fox radio regurgitated opinions on them. He always believed that when people bail out in the middle of a conversation, that he won the conversation and that others don't want to defend their answer because they are wrong, and he was right all along. He would ceiling them for their facts and the other person doesn't want to spend the time to Google them because he wouldn't believe them even if they did.